It was 1989. Alexander Zaldostanov, a 27-year-old dentist living in the USSR, stood at a crossroads. He had two options, either to build a safe career in dentistry or to follow his passion for bike riding. But in the USSR, social activities were banned, so the young Zaldostanov did the unthinkable. He founded a motorcycle club and called it the Night Wolves, and rebelled against the state. But within just a few years, the same club that defied the USSR was protecting it. This is the story of the Night Wolves, Putin's version of the Hells Angels. It was the mid-1980s. As the Soviet Union began to weaken, an underground culture started to take shape. Young men on old Soviet motorcycles gathered at band rock concerts and secret parties. For them, it was a rare taste of freedom in a country where Western music and style were forbidden. They rode through Moscow's streets on their battered bikes, often chased by police who saw them as troublemakers. By the late 1980s, they had already carved out a place in the city's underground scene. But the turning point came in 1989, when Mikhail Gorbachev's perestroika reforms loosened restrictions across Soviet society.
What changed Mikhail Gorbachev? What made you able to turn a place that didn't have freedom into freedom? What did it to you?
Suddenly, groups that once operated in secret could step into the open. Among them was Alexander Zaldostanov, known as the Surgeon. He used this new freedom to form a biker club he called the Night Wolves. He got this idea during the 1980s, when Zaldostanov had spent time in Berlin. There, he saw the structure and brotherhood of Western biker clubs up close. Inspired, he returned to Moscow with a vision: to blend biker culture with a distinctly Russian identity. Under his leadership, the Night Wolves adopted leather vests, patches, and strict rules of membership, but added their own twist of nationalism, Orthodox Christianity, and Soviet nostalgia. At first, the Wolves were rebels against the Soviet system itself, but in 1991, everything changed. In August 1991, hardline elements of the Soviet army launched a coup against Gorbachev. Crowds poured into the streets to defend democracy, and among them stood the Night Wolves, siding with the protesters and helping defend the Russian parliament. That moment marked their transformation from outlaws on the fringe into political players, and it opened the door to cooperation with the state. Ideology, values, and activities. At the core of the Night Wolves' identity is Russian nationalism. To them, the West represents moral decay and a threat to Russian society. In contrast, they promote Orthodox Christianity, loyalty to the Kremlin, and nostalgia for the Soviet past, especially the Soviet victory in World War II. These ideas shape their speeches, rallies, and carefully staged public shows. One of their most visible traditions is organizing massive motorcycle rallies and patriotic festivals. Every year, they lead the Victory Day Ride, celebrating the Red Army's triumph over Nazi Germany. These rides often cross borders into countries like Belarus, Slovakia, and even Germany, turning the event into both a spectacle and a political statement. Structure, membership, and internal rules. The Night Wolves are more like an organization built around one man, and Alexander the Surgeon Zaldostanov stands at the top of it. Besides being the leader, he is the voice and strategist of the group. His authority filters down through a strict hierarchy, giving the Wolves the feel of a military unit rather than a social club, as it was originally. From their headquarters in Moscow, the Wolves spread rapidly across Russia, planting chapters in Crimea, the Donbass, and the North Caucasus. Their network soon extended beyond Russia's borders, with affiliates in Serbia, Slovakia, Germany, Bosnia, Bulgaria, and Macedonia. Wherever they expand, the message is consistent: Russian pride, Orthodox faith, and unwavering loyalty to the Kremlin. Process of becoming a member. But how can you become a part of Russia's famous MC? Joining the Night Wolves is not an easy task. Entry begins only with an invitation from an existing member. From there, recruits enter a long probation period, much like the prospect stage in Western biker clubs. Once accepted as probationary members, recruits must prove themselves through loyalty, discipline, and active participation in club life. They attend events, follow orders, and show commitment to the club's ideology. Russian nationalism, Orthodox Christianity, and loyalty to the state. This stage usually lasts around 2 years before anyone earns full membership. The Wolves are strict about who they exclude. No drug addicts, no women, no gay men. Leaders emphasize that this is a male-only brotherhood, built on tradition and ideology. Women may join some activities, but never as full members. Besides the main club, there are youth and feeder groups that help train the next generation. These include motorcycle schools, martial arts programs, and patriotic camps where young people are introduced to the Wolves' culture. Most members come from former Soviet states, but the club has also attracted bikers from Serbia and Bosnia, appealing to countries with strong Christian ties. Members wear patches decorated with wolves, Orthodox crosses, and Soviet symbols. Inside, the atmosphere feels less like a motorcycle club and more like a paramilitary unit. Discipline is strict, and participation in rallies, patriotic shows, and religious ceremonies is mandatory. Today, estimates place their strength between 5,000 and 7,000 members worldwide. But the beating heart of the organization remains in Moscow, with Luhansk and Sevastopol gaining special importance during the wars in Ukraine. Relationship with the Russian state. The Night Wolves quickly aligned themselves with Vladimir Putin's political image, becoming one of his most visible allies. Over time, they evolved into a tool of Russian soft power. Through international motorcycle rallies, youth programs, and patriotic shows across Europe and the Balkans, they projected Moscow's message far beyond Russia's borders. For their services to the state, Zaldostanov had been personally honored by Putin and received the Order of Honor medal. Besides that, the Russian government has provided the Wolves with millions of rubles in grants, including around 12 million rubles for a Patriot Youth Center in Sevastopol.
Горжусь его дружбой, и он, значит, во мне пусть видит своего плеча.
The Russian Orthodox Church has also publicly blessed their rides, adding a religious layer to their political message. Putin has appeared with the Night Wolves at several public rallies, the most famous being in 2011 when he rode a trike alongside Alexander, the surgeon Zaldostanov in Sevastopol. It was the first time a head of state anywhere in the world had openly participated in biker club activities. Putin tapped into their image of masculinity, rebellion, and loyalty to the Russian nation. It was a carefully staged piece of political theater, merging state power with subcultural appeal to craft a new icon of Russian strength.
We begin today with an article by Agency France Press about the Night Wolves, a pro-Putin motorcycle gang from Crimea, which is helping Russian-backed militants in eastern Ukraine.
Role in Ukraine. When Russia moved to annex Crimea in early 2014, the Night Wolves were to help the state. They played an on-the-ground role. Members from the Sevastopol chapter helped establish roadblocks on major routes into the city. They patrolled areas of strategic importance and participated in the seizure of facilities like the Ukrainian Naval Forces headquarters in Sevastopol. Alexander Zaldostanov and other key figures in the club coordinated closely with pro-Russian forces. They distributed propaganda, collected intelligence, and supported civilian self-defense units during the takeover. In the Donbass region, the Wolves' involvement deepened. Local chapters helped organize separatist militias, guarded checkpoints, and in some cases, members fought alongside these forces. Their actions drew international attention, and sanctions followed. The United States, the EU, Canada, and others targeted the Night Wolves and Zaldostanov. These sanctions were imposed due to their involvement in Crimea's annexation, recruitment of fighters, and support for separatist operations in eastern Ukraine. In addition to the military or paramilitary aspects, the Night Wolves deployed soft power. They ran patriotic youth programs, cultural events, rallies, and victory rides to promote a narrative of Russian nationalism. These shows and events are often state-backed, broadcast widely. To mark the 5th anniversary of Russia's annexation of Crimea, the Night Wolves staged a rally and race between Simferopol and Sevastopol. It wasn't just a ride, it was a celebration of what they called historic justice, a political message wrapped in spectacle. After 2014, the Wolves became cultural defenders of the annexation. Their massive shows in Sevastopol blended music, theater, and military symbolism, drawing tens of thousands. These weren't neutral performances. They were patriotic pageants designed to glorify Russia's takeover. The stance came at a cost internationally. Their support for the annexation landed them on the White House sanctions list. But inside Russia, the story was different. Methods of influence. The Night Wolves use a highly creative set of methods to shape public opinion and influence the youth. Their activities are carefully designed to appeal to Orthodox believers and align with traditional values. One of their most visible strategies is the restoration of religious sites, often in partnership with the Russian Orthodox Church. These efforts present the Wolves as protectors of faith and tradition, reinforcing their alignment with Kremlin-backed religious nationalism. Alongside this, they invest in the construction of cultural centers and youth clubs, which serve as hubs for patriotic education. And how can they forget patriotic activities? They organize annual motorcycle pilgrimages, Victory Day parades, and festivals across Russia and Eastern Europe. To fuel their operations, the Wolves operate as a business network. They run nightclubs, tattoo parlors, and merchandise lines, selling branded clothing and accessories that turn their political identity into a lifestyle. Combat training and paramilitary activities. Combat training holds significant importance for the club, and they are also affiliated with Wolf Holding of Security Structures, WHSS, which is designated by the U.S. Treasury as owned by the Night Wolves Motorcycle Club. Tactical military training not just to Russians, but also to law enforcement, foreign military personnel, and Russian-speaking communities abroad. In Crimea, WHSS operates a self-defense training unit. Ostensibly, these are camps for civilian self-defense. Still, evidence and sanctions suggest the training includes military-style instruction and is used to support paramilitary and security operations in Russia-occupied Ukrainian territory. WHSS also offers more than training. Its services reportedly include armed protection, armored vehicles, installation of surveillance and monitoring systems, and special preparation teams. In areas claimed by or under the influence of pro-Russian forces, such services blur the line between security contractor and para-state actor. Because of these capabilities and its close association with the Russian state and club's leadership, WHSS, the Night Wolves, had been sanctioned by Western governments. Chapters. Today, this motorcycle club operates in 51 chapters worldwide, spreading its influence across Russia, Eastern Europe, and beyond. Russia remains its stronghold, and its presence is deeply tied to nationalism and loyalty to Vladimir Putin. The group regularly participates in pro-Kremlin rallies, and their leader, Alexander Zaldostanov, even served as a torchbearer at the 2014 Sochi Olympics. By 2016, they had around 5,000 members in Russia alone, making them a significant cultural and political force. Bosnia and Herzegovina. In 2018, the Night Wolves launched a tour of the Western Balkans, focusing heavily on Republika Srpska, a Serb-majority region of Bosnia and Herzegovina with strong pro-Russian leanings. The president of Republika Srpska, Milorad Dodik, awarded Zaldostanov a Medal of Honor for his loyalty to Russia. The Wolves also joined parades marking Republika Srpska Day, a holiday organized by Bosnian Serbs. This event is controversial, and in 2015, Bosnia's constitutional court declared it unconstitutional, deepening divisions in the region. Bulgaria. The Wolves' activities in Bulgaria have raised serious concerns within the European Union. Members frequently attend events hosted by the Russian embassy. In 2016, demonstrations against their arrival turned violent as pro-Russian nationalists clashed with anti-Wolves campaigners. While the bikers themselves weren't directly involved, their presence was the clear catalyst for unrest. Montenegro. In Montenegro, they operate under the motto, "Pray to God and stick to Russia." Authorities accused some of their members of involvement in a 2016 assassination plot against then Prime Minister Milo Djukanovic, which prosecutors linked to Kremlin efforts to stop Montenegro from joining NATO. The Wolves have also attempted to shut down pro-Ukrainian rallies, claiming such demonstrations would promote warmongering rhetoric and religious intolerance. In 2014, they carried out a motorcycle pilgrimage in Montenegro as part of their Russian Balkan tour, an event actively promoted by the Russian embassy in Podgorica, underscoring how closely their activities align with Russian state interests. Ukraine. The Wolves' role in Ukraine has always been in the limelight. In March 2014, they traveled to Crimea, where they set up roadblocks, collected intelligence, and spread propaganda during Russia's takeover. They openly supported the Kremlin narrative that so-called Ukrainian fascists, backed by the CIA, had toppled a legitimate pro-Russian government. Following the annexation, the Night Wolves were awarded a municipal security contract in Bakhchisarai, granting them authority in local policing and youth patriotic education programs. Given their proven loyalty and direct involvement in Crimea, it is widely believed that the Wolves have continued to play some role in Russia's 2022 invasion of Ukraine, even if their activities are less openly acknowledged. A tool of Russian soft power. So far, they have transitioned to a proxy for Kremlin influence instead of purely being a biker club. Their rides, shows, and youth camps may look like biker culture, but they double as political theater. Much of their messaging revolves around World War II victory narratives, tying Crimea and Donbass to historical justice. Now they're soft power on wheels, projecting Moscow's worldview across Europe. Prominent members. Alexander Zaldostanov, the surgeon. Founder and undisputed leader Zaldostanov remains the face of the Night Wolves. Born in 1963 in Kirovohrad, USSR, now Ukraine, to a Ukrainian father and a Russian doctor mother, his family spent time in Crimea before settling in Moscow. Beyond his medical nickname, he is best known for turning the club into a vehicle of Kremlin propaganda. Awarded the Order of Honor by Vladimir Putin, sanctioned by the EU, and banned from Europe under his guidance, the Wolves shift from rebellious outsiders to state-backed nationalists. Vitaly Kishkinov, the prosecutor. Kishkinov is heading the Donbass branch after previously commanding the Luhansk chapter. A hardliner, he fuses biker culture with militant separatism. In 2019, he received a war medal from the self-proclaimed Luhansk People's Republic, where he now serves in its People's Council. Known for fiery nationalist speeches, he enforces an exclusionary code. No women, no gay men, no drug users. He is under European Union sanctions for undermining Ukraine's territorial integrity. Sergei Komarov, Mosquito. He is a Luhansk chapter member. Komarov is recognized for his combat record with pro-Russian separatist militias. Born outside Moscow, he fought as a tank man in the Chechen Wars, an experience that left lasting scars. Among fellow Wolves, he is known as energetic and friendly, but his past reflects the club's transformation from a biker subculture into frontline fighters. Denis Kuznetsov, deputy commander of the Luhansk chapter, Kuznetsov joined the Wolves in the early 1990s. After the 2013-14 Maidan protests, which he viewed as a Western-backed coup, he left his family in Moscow to join Russia's annexation of Crimea. Under his leadership, Wolves helped set up checkpoints, patrolled Sevastopol, and armed themselves for the takeover. Kuznetsov later admitted, "I am one of the million reasons Crimea was annexed. The United States sanctioned the group for these activities." Ramzan Kadyrov, the powerful Chechen leader and Putin loyalist, was made an honorary member and granted branch leader status. His association elevates the Wolves beyond biker culture, aligning them with Russia's broader ultranationalist project. Controversies and criticism. The Night Wolves have long drawn criticism for far-right nationalism, anti-LGBT rhetoric, and Soviet nostalgia. Their use of Stalin portraits during rides is praised by supporters as honoring history, but seen by critics as whitewashing repression. Their activities have had real consequences. In 2014, the U.S. sanctioned the group and its leader, Alexander Zaldostanov, for threatening Ukraine's sovereignty. Canada blacklisted them in 2015, and the EU followed in 2022. Poland blocked their 2015 Victory Day ride over Crimea, while Germany also attempted to ban them before a Berlin court overturned the decision. Local branches have raised alarms too. In Slovakia, officials fined the group for building a fortified compound with armored vehicles. How their supporters see them. They might be rebellious to their critics, but their supporters see them as patriots, not criminals. For them, they are a spiritual army, defending Russia's history, faith, and traditions. Their rallies, youth camps, and concerts are framed as cultural celebrations, not politics. Critics, especially in the West, see something else. A paramilitary tool dressed as a biker club, spreading Kremlin propaganda and intolerance under the guise of patriotism. Inside Russia, they're cultural heroes. Outside, they're sanctioned and banned. This divide makes the wolves a reflection of Russia itself, admired by some, feared by others. The Night Wolves began as a biker club, but today they stand as a fusion of culture, politics, and power. Their story shows how subcultures can evolve into tools of the state, but not every brotherhood is embraced like that. Click on the next video to see how some leaders face life behind bars, and the way they handle it is shocking.